Hello everyone, this is Rick and welcome to Astral Club. This is Guide to the Akashic Records. Before we get into it, just want to mention Patreon. And Patreon, of course, is a way for you to support the work here of Astral Club. And we've got quite the bumper crop so far for new people for this month. We've got Jared, who's an Astral Master, Alex the Fourth, who is Astral Ascended, David, who's an Astral Scout, Misty, who was an Astral Ascended, and Taylor, who was an Astral Master. And I want to thank all these people and all of the other very many supporters of Astral Club on Patreon. And when you join, you get the same thing that they do: advanced episodes, commercial-free on Sunday, a library of downloaded episodes for your podcast app, and of course, Patreon email where we can talk back and forth. You can ask questions, offer your experiences to me. Next up, astral projection lessons. If you'd like a lesson with me to learn how to astral project private one-on-one, all you have to do is go to the description area where you'll find the Patreon link, as well as an email where you can request information on the astral projection lessons. Okay, I almost named this the Idiot's Guide to the Akashic Records, but I wasn't sure everybody would get the joke. Back in the late 70s and into the 80s, there was a million books out there. You know, Idiot's Guide to Auto Repair, Idiot's Guide to Carpentry, Idiot's Guide to Nuclear Power Plant Making. I don't know. They were all out there. It was some good information, and it was kind of funny, but I wasn't sure that everybody would get that joke. So, Guide to the Akashic Records it is. I thought it was necessary to discuss the nuts and bolts of this thing because there seems to be a lot of questions associated with how it works, what information you can get, how it's fed to you. So I'd like to address that a little bit. I remember the first time that I got to the Akashic Records, and this was shortly before the guide that my angel had arranged for me arrived. So I had, a very brief period of time, and I saw kind of what I expected to see, which was an enormous, multiple layered library with many, many books in shelves, which to me, that's what a library is. So what you expect to see when you get to the Akashic Records, or as you progress through it, is what you're going to see. I grabbed a book off the shelf at random, and the first thing that I saw looked like cuneiform. I could tell by the weird wedge-shaped characters. This was perhaps the earliest form of writing, going right back to the Mesopotamian civilizations. Well, I thought to myself, oh, I wish this was in English. Instantly, I don't remember exactly what the example is that I can give you, but I'll give you a similar example that I can think of. Okay, let's say, for instance, that the page now transforms itself to "The gentleman availed himself of the unexpected opportunity." Well, that is English, but it's British English. They say that the UK and America are two lands that are held apart by the same common language. Anyway, I then thought about, geez, I wish this was more like an American English, and bam, the next thing I knew, it would have been the equivalent of a sentence like, "The guy took a chance." So the language or whatever languages you wish to achieve are pretty easily adjusted based on your thought, your pure thought and request. So it went from cuneiform to British English to good old Americanese. I suppose if I'd wanted to, I probably could have even played around with, okay, now give it to me like in a Louisiana accented type English or something. I personally believe, and I have been told this, and I have no reason to doubt it, that any question you have about the Akashic Records, anything you might want to ask, for instance, an example, can I find X, is it possible to locate why? Can I find out what happened in the Peloponnesian War? Can I see if Atlantis existed? Well, that's a little something I might know about. Can I see, can I see George Washington at Valley Forge? Can I see Napoleon when he was crowned emperor? Can I see the first Chinese emperor? Can I see the future? It's all there. It's all available to you. However, it's not quite as easy as it sounds. Now, my first trip, I was taken by a prearranged guide, and I communicated to her what I wanted to see. And at first, what my first experiences were. It was presented to me as if the whole wall was a very realistic, top-notch, flat screen TV available of today. Extremely real sound, extremely real pictures. But the information that you request, I have to warn you, moves exceedingly fast. For example, and I guess it also depends on what you're asking, but still, keep in mind, I don't believe the Akashic Records is designed for living humans, because the way that the projections are played, it's very, very fast. And for a typical human mind, I mean, my IQ is 140, which isn't bad, but, I'm no Einstein or anybody like that. So when this information is played, it's not played with humans in mind. When you're out of your physical body, your ability to absorb information is tremendous. And I remember absorbing the information. The problem is, when you return to your physical body and you try to integrate all that information, it's kind of like you're pouring, let's use metric just to have fun with them for once. It's like you're trying to pour 2 liters of liquid into a shot glass. How's that? You'll fill up the shot glass and then everything else kind of runs out. And that's the frustrating part of it. So when we talk about the Akashic Records, it's all there. You can access it. However, trying to remember everything. I think if somebody had an eidetic memory, the photographic memory type of situation, the kind of person who could literally absorb everything he sees and at least maintain that exact knowledge for some length of time, then you probably could do a lot better than I can do. Now, one of the reasons why I access things like past history here in the Akashic Records is because the things that I'm researching, I already have some knowledge about them. So when I see these things flash in front of me, I have at least some context for it, even though I see things all the time that I'm quite surprised. But they make sense to me because I understand their context. When I was talking about if you remember the Ancient Anunnaki Invaders episode recently, I believe that I watched perhaps as much as 100,000 years worth of history. Now, I may have absorbed all of that, all of those images. And at this point in time, I'll tell you another way. Of course, you can read a book, just like I did when I first arrived in the Akashic Records. You can look at something now as a modern 21st century individual. You can look at it as if it's the best flat screen you've ever seen in your entire life, with the absolute hyper-realistic sound and images. But when I got to this stage, when I saw the 3 different visions that I saw, I allowed myself to go into the image. In other words, it was as if I was an unseen witness right on the ground, and Venus and Earth, right on the ground, seeing everything that's going on. Now, of course, nothing could see me because I wasn't really there. Imagine the future fantastically creative VR system that I talked about some episodes back. Imagine it being just amazing, such that you literally felt like you were there and you were so seeing everything about as real as can possibly be seen. That's how I was seeing this history. But of course, they couldn't see me because I wasn't really there. It's nothing but a record, a projection. So that's another way that you can access this information. When I was waiting to get it set up one time, I saw there was another being who I couldn't even try to identify. I'm not sure what the heck it was. Its shape continually molded like some sort of a large jelly creature. I just kind of watched, and it was watching it in some weird way, as I can't even describe how it was doing it. It seemed like it was absorbing the information, not visually, but using some other type of senses, because he was interacting and touching different areas, and it was changing as he did it. At any rate, all I could see was just flashes and flashes of light. I couldn't make out a single image. Yet, obviously, this creature was absorbing all of this information. So, if the question is, how does it work? Well, you want to try to get yourself a guide once you get there. And the best way to get there is will yourself to the Akashic Records. Try to get yourself a guide. They might be a little standoffish because they're, living humans aren't their favorite types of individuals. But if you can get them to help you and take you to where you want to go and what you want to ask, that's probably the best way to go about it. But once again, keep in mind that you're only going to be there as long as you can stay out of your body. Now, I know it's been suggested, what about going to the Akashic Records in the future? I've never actually tried that. That might be able to prolong things. But then also I have to wonder, if I absorb 100 times more knowledge, how much of that will never make it back to my physical brain? You see, I don't think the problem here is necessarily the Akashic Records or the technique of getting information. It's the limitation of the physical meat brain. Perhaps somebody with a 200 plus IQ and an eidetic memory would have better luck. And if so, if you're out there, let us know what you find, because that would be interesting, I imagine. Assuming, of course, that you don't go mad. Okay, if you like that, please hit the like button. Share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already, and about 87% of you had, which is freaking amazing. I think the average subscription rate in YouTube is maybe 10% tops. So you guys are great. And questions and comments about the Akashic Records or anything else that you think people will be interested in, be glad to work with you, or any comments you have about your trips to the Akashic Records. How did you see it? Did you see it in a different way? Because I'm not saying that I know it all. Believe me, I don't. But those are my experiences. Share yours. At any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.